Previously on Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney. Oh my god, look at him.
Court is now in session for the trial of Shady how do you say this?
Enigmar!
Shady Enigmar!
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Hey, baby. Prosecution's just chilling over here.
Why are you talking like that?
Because I'm a rock star, daddy. Also, I'm 17 and I still haven't worked out what my persona should be yet.
I am not going to be able to take you seriously if you continue to talk like that this entire trial.
Fine.
Hello, I'm Unca Crunk. Welcome back to Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney, where we're in the middle of a trial from 7 years ago, the one that ended Phoenix Wright's career.
Very impressive, Mr. Wright. I have to say, I expected nothing less.
We've only just begun. I was hoping you could tell me a bit more about what happened, actually.
I did not think you would believe me if I told you. Better that you discovered the truth for yourself. I was thinking of you, you know.
I think we need less thinking and more talking.
That night in the hospital, what really happened? The way your eyes gleam, Mr. Wright. You'll scare Trucy.
Speaking of which, where is she?
You have seen the problem yourself, the letter.
The one shot in the forehead one, right?
Yes. And the reason he speaks of it. I cannot deny my mentor's wishes, even if it meant my own death.
Why not?
This is something I will not say, for now at least.
What's this for now business?
I have done many things in my life, some well, some poorly. But this is a cross we must bear alone to our graves.
We?
You wanted to know about the night of the incident?
Finally, this guy sure likes taking his time getting to the important stuff.
Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time. And found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols.
2?
Yes, the one I had used on stage, and the one that had been used by my partner, Valant.
Oh, for the Zack and Valant's quick draw thing.
My mentor had the look of one sleeping. I stood by his bedside, hearing only the light sound of his breathing. Then I took the pistol into my hand. I cannot deny that my resolve faltered then, for a moment.
You faltered? You mean you thought about shooting him?
Recall there was a reason I could not refuse his request. His last such request, though not his first.
So there were other requests you couldn't refuse before?
To be honest, I've not always been steadfast, and I fear I've brought pain upon Trucy.
Was Magnifi coercing his disciples somehow? Just what was going on in Troop Gramarye?
Yet, in the end, I did not shoot him. Instead, I turned and shot the clown. I mean, wouldn't you? It's a clown. It's creepy. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket.
In your pocket?
I believe if you examine the bullet in the clown's head, you will find it to be different than the one in my mentor.
What were
what were those called?
Rifling marks.
Yes. Well, that is all I have to tell you concerning the case.
Concerning the case? You mean there's something else you can tell me?
You are a fascinating man, Mr. Wright.
Thanks.
Yes, there is something. My mentor, his eyes opened.
What? Magnifi Gramarye?
The old devil, he was not asleep, you see. Of course, the gunshot would have woken him anyway. And there we had our last discussion as mentor and pupil. It was not a long discussion, maybe 5-10 minutes or so.
5 or 10 minutes in a hospital after a gunshot and no one came running? Wow.
What did you talk about? Mr. Wright, did I not just tell you? It does not concern this case.
Zach Gramarye. He seems pretty steadfast to me, or maybe just stubborn. Mr. Wright, your presence is requested in the courtroom.
Once again, I am in your hands.
Right. Let's get back in there. April 19th, 11:37 a.m. Courtroom number 7.
Court is now back in session.
During our recess, a bullet was found in and dug out from the clown's head.
Well, this is news. And the rifling marks?
There wasn't time to do a detailed analysis, though they did find the weapon type matches the murder weapon.
Well, that's not very conclusive, is it?
Which is why I'm about to call my very decisive witness. Your decisive witness? How many times have I heard those words? Though they often turn out to be far less decisive than you think. Oh, don't worry on my account. I'm quite confident this witness will do the job. After all, he is intimately acquainted with the players in our little production, being the other half of Troupe Gramarye's famous duo, Zach and Volant. Volant Gramarye. So we get to meet the great Magnavy's other disciple. Perhaps we'll start by asking your name and occupation. Volant Gramarye, magician.
And you're the decisive witness, are you? You can prove your fellow student, your partner's guilt.
Fate. The grand illusion, filled with traps and tricks. Wait! The shooting took place in that hospital after 11 o'clock at night. If you're a witness, does that mean you were there that late? If one were to deduce this logically, then conclusion is yes. Okay. I always get the characters, don't I? I have an interesting fact for you. You see, several days before the crime, my witness received this.
That looks very familiar.
Wait! That's the same letter Zach Gramarye received.
Yes, or perhaps I should say, ta-da! Order! 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 And what does it say? Surely not the same thing.
Perhaps you should see for yourself. Look at life's curtain. 11:20. Okay.
Why, it's practically the same. The court accepts this into evidence.
Huh.
This is most unusual. Exactly what was going on with you folks? What exactly was your Troupe Gramarye up to?
By which you mean?
I'm just having trouble envisioning a man who would ask his students to kill him. Both of them, no less.
It's just my opinion here, Judge. But from these letters, I'd say he was coercing them, not asking them. We walked the magician's path together, and in so doing, shared much of our lives. When people are so close, there is strain, a warping of relations, you might say. Yet this has nothing to do with the case at hand. By which you mean you're not going to tell us. Which makes me wonder even more about this reason they can refuse.
Well, let's get on with the testimony for starters. The defendant, Zach Gramarye, stands accused. Tell us why. Oh, I'll do more than that. For where he walks, the red roses rise, singing hymns to the miracle that is magic. Fascinating. Though I hardly need to remind you that the evidence could just as clearly point to you as the suspect. The letter, the murder weapon, and now the 2 bullets found at the scene. In fact, the only difference seems to be the designated time. Ha 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 ha! As every magician knows, timing is everything. Yes. And now it's time to get this party fired up.
Witness testimony!
The night of the crime. That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifi requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final bow. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss I gave to the clown. Then I informed the doctor and the police. So you were the one who reported the crime? Indeed. I would think this fact alone would clear my name of suspicion.
Self-reporting! He is sus.
This fact alone would clear my name of suspicion.
Let's not jump to any conclusions.
Yes, the cross-examination generally comes before the conclusions in this court. But if your testimony proves to be true, then the defendant, Zach Gramarye, is guilty.
And if it wasn't Zach Gramarye, then the killer was you, Valent. And no disappearing act will get you out of that. Foreshadowing? Cross-examination, start!
That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnifi requested.
Which, according to the letter, was 11:20 p.m.?
Indeed. In magic, timing is everything.
Right.
Consider the illusion of teleportation. If I were to appear on stage before my stunt double has left, how would that look? Why, it would reveal the very secrets of my magic.
Now that you've revealed the very secrets of your magic for all of us, let's move on. You went at the designated time, and what did you see?
The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final bow.
Ow. So, you weren't worried for your own safety at all? I mean, you smelled gunpowder, yes? What if the shooter was still nearby? You hadn't thought of that, had you?
I did not consider this, to be honest. It is forbidden for a magician to have a good imagination.
What? Really? Isn't magic all about illusions and imagination? How about this? You were the shooter, which is why you weren't afraid.
Now you are the one imagining. It is forbidden for a lawyer to have a good imagination. The witness will refrain from pausing so suspiciously before responding. My forbidden imagination is starting to imagine things. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions.
Which brings us back to this reason neither of you could refuse.
So it does. And my partner, he did not refuse.
but Magnifi wrote the same thing to you. Why could you refuse if Zack couldn't? Because I have a will of steel. Of course. I also do this trick where I bend steel bars, so perhaps steel isn't all that strong. So which is it? Mind if I continue? Yet a deal with the dead, it's still a deal. This sweet kiss I gave to the clown. There were 2 bullet holes at the scene, one in the victim and one in the clown. You're saying the one who shot the clown was you? No doubt, my partner Zack has said much the same thing. Yeah, because whoever didn't shoot the clown committed the murder. I'd better dig around here a bit more and see what I turn up. Mr. Valent, let me ask you something else concerning the crime scene. Namely, the number of pistols. How many pistols were there when you entered the room? By which you mean what precisely? 2 pistols were used in the Zack and Valent quick draw shoot 'em, correct? 1 for each of you. You are well informed, yet only one of my old friends sat in the hospital room that night. What did Zack tell me back in the lobby? Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time and found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket. I see no problem with that statement. Only 1 pistol is visible in the photograph of the crime scene after all. Yeah, okay. So you picked up that pistol and fired it? Indeed I did. Alakazam! Alakazing! Alakaboom! Is the number of pistols really so important? Yes, I think so. The number of pistols is quite important, Your Honor. Very well. Please add this detail to your testimony. What can I do but obey? Only 1 pistol was in the hospital room that night. With it, I shot the clown. Hold it! So you took the only pistol there and fired it? That's correct. And that pistol was this one, which was left at the crime scene? Good show! I see you too are a magician of sorts. What? And you're an idiot of sorts. You have any idea what you just said? I see the fire in your eyes as you glare at the witness. So how about heating up this trial a bit? These slow ballads bore me. Got a hunch, but maybe that's all that it is. Maybe I should ask about something else. The location or the bullet? Where exactly was the pistol when you entered the room? Atop a small bedside table it was. As if to say, here I am, take me in your hand, pull my trigger, shoot him. The victim clearly wanted to be shot. But why? Perhaps he wanted to go out with a bang? Yet we will never hear the truth from his lips, so all we can do is guess. Is the location of the pistol all that important? No, not really. Actually, let me ask about something else. Very well, the witness may continue with their testimony. What can I do but obey? Okay, so it didn't change anything. Then I informed the doctor and the police. So, you informed the police. What did you do then?
What do you suppose I did? Used my magic to levitate my mentor's corpse, perhaps?
I don't know, that's why I'm asking. Now, please answer the question and skip the sarcasm.
After I made my report, I called the doctor and we returned to the room. While we waited for the police to arrive, we discussed stomach medicine. We've confirmed this with the doctor. It all checks out. He praised Mr. Valant's knowledge of stomach medicine, in fact. Ah, it is an honor I do not deserve, but I accept.
Both the Magnifique students received the same letter. Both admit to having gone to the hospital that night. 2 bullets were fired, and one of them killed Magnifique. Time to find the cracks in his testimony. Well, crap. Let me look at the, I don't know. Okay, let's see. Gunpowder. Fellow student. Only 1 pistol. Oh, whoa. Hang on. Barrel marks match the bullet found in the victim. Oh, that's what Phoenix meant. Ah!
Objection!
According to the defendant, Zach Gramarye, when he entered the room, there were 2 pistols on that table. 2! One of those pistols he used to shoot the clown in the forehead. Then he left with it in his pocket. Of course, this is what he would say. Unlike the hapless clown, we must assume our defendant had some brains in his head. Well, what about what Mr. Valant has told us? You see, there's something about his testimony that doesn't make sense.
What might that be? I told you I took the pistol that was there and shot the clown.
That's your story, at least. But the rifling marks tell a very different story, Mr. Valant. Recall what Prosecutor Gavin told us.
We compared the bullet taken from the victim's skull with the bullet fired from this gun.
The rifling marks on the bullets were a perfect match. Mr. Valant, if you fired this pistol, then you shot the victim in the forehead.
Order! 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 Well, this is all rather sudden.
What have I done?
Prosecutor Gavin?
I owe the court an apology. Sorry. Sorry for what? You see, I was unaware that 2 of these unique pistols were crafted. The analysis of the rifling marks only prove the type of gun that fired them.
Objection!
Damn it! But that's not what you told us before. You said you'd verified the murder weapon. Which is why I'm apologizing to you now. Quite sincerely, I might add. Would you hold me accountable for a mistake made in my youth? That was just this morning. I am still young. And I might add, it wasn't really my fault. If the defendant had only admitted he took 1 pistol from the scene of the crime, we would not be having this pleasant discussion now.
Valant Gramarye?
Yes, Your Honor.
You were presented to this court as a decisive witness, but you've proven to be more divisive than decisive.
Objection!
You'll see in time. The testimony so far has merely been a review of the facts. The proof comes next. Care to elaborate, Prosecutor Gavin? When Mr. Valent entered the hospital room, the victim had already been shot. As this next testimony will prove, Harold Wright, the real fight is about to begin. Bring it. Very well. The witness will now testify to the court. Help us determine who shot what.
Witness testimony.
Who shot what? I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called in the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. He was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. And the one in the room at that time was my partner, not me. Those times are rather close, you'll have to admit. You're talking about an alibi established over a matter of minutes. Use a 10-minute discrepancy as the basis of your alibi. It is easy to explain in this situation, Herr Judge. For example, take our debut hit single, 13 Years, Hard Time for Love. Cue to the song, press the play button, and it will play for 2 minutes, 15 seconds.
That's a very short song.
Do it 100 times, the result is the same.
Their debut single was only 2 minutes and 15 seconds long? What a rip-off!
Magic is a world of utmost precision. Hocus pocus requires admirable focus. And in the time of death determined by the doctor, there is an incontrovertible truth. Very well, the prosecution warns us that we're dealing with rather precise times. And we can expect the cross-examination to require the same level of precision. I would hope the defense refrains from its customarily broad, sweeping accusations, lest we blur the focus this case so clearly demands. Point taken. Baseless remarks will result in a penalty. Carry on, Mr. Wright.
Wait, does that mean I can't press everything? Carry on.
Right.
Oh crap. Cross-examination, start. Okay, let's just press on this one then.
It was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m.
I don't think I'm stepping out on a limb to say I have some doubts about this. How could the doctor be so precise with the time?
We do usually only get an estimated time of death, true. I'm not sure I've heard of a verified time of death. Magic revels in making the complex appear simple, but reality is the opposite. What appears complex in this case is a simple matter of subtraction. I see another person has done their arithmetic homework. The point here is the IV the victim was taking. It's quite visible in the photograph of the scene. Recall what we heard earlier about the victim Magnifique Gramarye's schedule. Every night at 11, Magnifique took an IV drip for 30 minutes. I can see the IV bag right there, yes. Now look a little closer. Follow the tube down from the bag to the end. Ah, the needle's been removed. Doubtlessly, it fell out when he was shot. That would seem to be the case. When the needle comes out, the IV no longer drips. You could just measure the remaining IV liquid. Precisely. The IV liquid functions, for our purposes, as an hourglass of sorts. This is how the doctor determined the time of death. From the amount remaining in the bag, it was determined that the IV had stopped 10 minutes after administration began.
Well, okay then.
And so it was when I, Valiant, entered that room. 10 minutes had passed since that horrible crime was committed. And this is proof. Well, Mr. Wright.
Did that seem important? Yes.
Well, seeing how it is the biggest clue we have to the time of death, I'd say it's very important. Agreed. It would be hard to imagine a more precise way to determine the time. Behold the power of arithmetic. Very well. The witness will add this detail to his testimony. Sometimes the most magical thing of all is the truth.
Yeah. Okay.
The water of life springs not eternal. The remaining IV liquid proves my innocence.
Did you notice the IV yourself by any chance?
When first I entered that room, the stench of gunpowder assailed me. Next, the mark of death upon my mentor's forehead. And then, his left arm dead, I spy a rose, drooping and wilted. Its thorn, the discarded IV needle. Knocked from the vein by the force of the shot. Luckily for you. If that IV had not been there, why, you might be a suspect. Indubitably so. I might say it's thanks to my lucky color.
Your lucky color?
Indeed. Even today I wear it proudly upon my suspect self. For it always, without fail, brings me luck. Why, when Zack and Volant won their first Magician's Grand Prix, yes, the very one held by the Association of International Magicians, I was adorned in this attire then too, and our trophy, a bust. Ah, what a day that was.
This is one trip down memory lane no one needs.
My lucky color, yes indeed. And that IV too. I say, I think 'twas hued, especially for me, Volant. That does seem to be the case indeed. Well, Mr. Wright, any thoughts on this testimony?
Volant sure does look happy with himself. Okay, how about this lucky color testimony? Yeah. It certainly sounds like your lucky colors brought you plenty of luck, but not this time. Mr. Volant, your lucky colors betrayed you.
I'm afraid you've lost me.
Your Honor, the witness's testimony just now clearly contradicts the evidence.
What? Please recall my warning at the beginning of this cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Baseless accusations will be duly penalized. I do hope this latest accusation is well-based.
Oh, don't worry, I've got all your bases right here.
Very well, let's hear the defense's claim. Where is your evidence that contradicts what Mr. Valiant has told us?
Yeah, that is not yellow. That's green.
Take that!
The crime scene tells all, Your Honor.
The photo of the crime scene?
All this talk of color has me yearning for black and white, clear-cut simplicity. Tell us, Herr Wright, just where is the contradiction in this photo? My pleasure, and I assure you it's quite simple. But I can't promise anything in black and white.
Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. What in this photo contradicts the witness's testimony?
Take that!
Valiant Gramarye, let's get one thing straight about your lucky color. It's yellow, yes?
Kind of takes the mystery out of it, but yes. Something wrong with yellow, Mr. Wright?
Yes, there is. Decisively wrong, in fact. Take another look at the photo of the crime scene.
What's this?
Confusion, doubt. Tell us, what do your elderly eyes spy?
Even my elderly eyes can see a problem here, Mr. Volant. Look at that IV bag.
What is this? What foul magic? It would be hard to call the IV liquid yellow. And I'm afraid no magic was involved in the taking of this photograph. No!
Order! What does this mean?
Objection!
Bailiff, some veterinarian or somebody to gather up all these rabbits. They're mating on my shoes. Bailiff, get these rabbits out of here.
This is some kind of mistake.
No, it's not a mistake. It's the Fibonacci sequence in evidence. But yes, Prosecutor Gavin, you're a witness this mistake.
The greener they are, the harder they fall. I suppose there's no substitute for experience. Valiant Gramarye, as you reminded us several times, your lucky color is yellow, but the IV is clearly not.
Well,
this contradiction can mean only one thing.
Objection!
and to think, you almost had me.
Eh?
I see your true colors now, Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright. Something you'd like to tell us, Prosecutor Gavin? As far as this court can tell, the witness's testimony does contradict the evidence.
Yes, a contradiction. One that I shall be pleased to hand right back to Mr. Wright. How do you mean? Oh, because the witness has made no mistakes. I agree, at a glance, the IV liquid does appear a sort of greenish yellow, but I assure you the liquid itself is quite yellow.
Yellow liquid? How can you say that? As far as I can tell from this photo, it's green.
Yes, but what color is the IV bag itself? The bag? You mean the plastic bag on a hook?
It looks like I want to say a light blue.
Precisely. Figured it out yet? Put a yellow liquid in a blue bag and you get green. This, incidentally, is the liquid's true color.
I see. Your explanation does have the ring of truth to it.
Objection!
As I thought. There's no substitute for experience, Prosecutor Gavin. What? You may tell a good tale, but you've just proven something rather grave. For you, that is. Grave. The liquid in the IV is yellow, yes. But how did this witness know that? It's quite unnatural when you think about it. You did think about it, didn't you? Your Honor, the defense requests an explanation from the witness. At the scene of the crime, the IV liquid appears to be green. So let me ask, how did the witness know the IV liquid was actually yellow?
Again with the rabbits!
the rabbits on it! Order! 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 Mr. Wright, you will explain this at once! The witness clearly knew the color of the IV liquid. So I'm sure it means something, but what? I can think of only one possibility, Your Honor. The witness, Valiant Gramarye, has testified that the IV liquid was yellow because... he'd seen it before, or... he'd seen it before. From the facts before us, the answer is clear. The witness knew that the IV liquid was yellow. Why? Because he'd seen it before, but not inside the blue bag we see in the photo. He saw the liquid by itself, in a clear, colorless bag. I suppose he would have had to, but I'm still not clear as to what all this means. Ask yourself, why would he know if he didn't work at a hospital? That's where you'll find your meaning, Your Honor.
Objection!
I'm afraid I find nothing. So what if he knew the IV liquid's color? Leave the getting excited over absolutely nothing to our teeny bopper fans, ja?
Objection!
The IV liquid is the only evidence proving the time of death. A 30-minute hourglass with 20 minutes worth of sand remaining. Your claim, Prosecutor Gavin. I remember it well. However, there's a critical difference between an hourglass and an IV bag. Oh, wait, I know. An hourglass uses sand, but an IV bag uses liquid. I'm right, right? As much as it pains me to say this, Your Honor, no. Unlike the sands through an hourglass, IV liquid enters the patient's body. At which point, like magic, it disappears. However, what if the amount of IV liquid had increased? You couldn't tell, could you? After all, there's no way of knowing how much went in.
Objection!
Let me get this straight here right. You're saying the witness watered down the victim's IV bag. Not with water, but with IV liquid. That's how you knew the IV liquid was yellow. Now wait, I said wait! How might an amateur such as myself essay to perform such a task?
Objection!
I'm an amateur too, but I can pour water into a cup.
Objection!
I'm afraid there's quite a big difference between a cup and an IV bag. Quite. Can you prove our witness is capable of such a feat? There's a point, amateurs. I at least would have some difficulty pouring IV liquid into that bag. You don't need to be an expert to see the look on the witness's face. He added liquid to that IV to throw off the time of death. I tire of these fairy tales lacking evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, any solid evidence to bring us back down to earth? Valiant Gramarye. I'm afraid your magic won't serve you well in a life of crime. Might I ask what you're strongly suggesting? Magic relies on props, and props become evidence. Our witness was certainly able to increase the amount of IV liquid in the bag. All he had to do was work a little magic, and the prop was the empty insulin syringe.
Take that!
The victim's syringe? Just the perfect prop for the magically increasing IV trick. And easy enough for an amateur to use.
Objection!
What kind of evidence is that? The syringe was clean, not a trace of liquid in it.
Objection!
And don't you find that odd, Prosecutor Gavin? What? The victim had the syringe to administer his insulin shots. There should have been traces of insulin left inside. Well, Valiant Gramarye, as you pointed out yourself, The IV liquid makes the perfect clock. One that you could manipulate at will. Alakazam! They're multiplying. Bailiff, get animal control in here now. And you, witness, stop summoning rabbits.
I do believe, well, with this being his first, that the burden of this trial has been a bit too much to bear for Prosecutor Gavin. I'm afraid that while there is a doubt as to the amount of IV liquid in that bag, the time of death cannot be proven. And that brings our trial to a close for today.
Well, maybe I can squeeze an extra day out of this. I can do a little much-needed investigation work.
I see there are no objections. Excuse me?
Truly, there is no substitute for experience. Nothing blinds one to the truth so effectively. A word to the wise. Underestimate the young and they'll sweep your feet out from under you in a way you never, ever expected. You see, I know exactly what you're thinking. What's he talking about? You say the witness used the syringe to manipulate the level of the IV liquid, but there is no proof. There's no proof he didn't do it either. Yes, quite true. He's admitting it. Nor was this witness quite as decisive as I'd hoped. This I admit. After all, why linger in the past when the future holds so much?
You have something in mind, Prosecutor Gavin?
Proof, Herr Judge. I have another way to prove my case. With evidence, no less.
What's this?
This is the victim, Magnifi Gramarye's diary. After going into the hospital, Magnifi began writing his memoirs, it seems. The story of his birth, his sterling debut, and the meeting his disciples. It seems he intended for the last chapter to end quite appropriately with his death. Wait, that book doesn't say what the reason was, does it? The reason why his disciples couldn't refuse his last request? Sadly, it does not. What's important here is on the last page. Apparently, the victim wrote in his journal that night, even after the IV had begun at 11 p.m. Let's read it, shall we? Tonight's IV is in, maybe the last.
This does appear to have been written just before his death.
Tonight's IV is in, maybe the last. I leave the rest to them. The first should come soon. This journal may end here or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. All that is left to mine is to lay down this pen.
The court accepts this into evidence.
Okay, there's a page missing. Read the very last part with particular care. This journal may end here or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. Of course, by his, he refers to our defendant, Zach Gramarye.
That would make sense, yes. He was the first scheduled visitor after all.
But look what he said before that. This journal may end here or it may go on. It may go on. Magnifi Gramarye intended to write again. That is, if Zach Gramarye didn't pull the trigger. Hang on. Oh, that's what this is. It seems fate's clock will make me wait a little longer. Okay. Cool. I see the defense understands the meaning of this. The victim's diary does not go on, it ends. No, it doesn't. Oh my God. Trucy gave me that. Is This the forgery?
Because Magnifi's life was brought to an end by the defendant, Zach Gramarye. Order! 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 Prosecutor Gavin, are you certain that Magnifi Gramarye wrote this? There's no mistaking his handwriting. Well, this does seem to be significant. According to this, Magnifi did intend to continue his diary. Yet, if his diary ended here, which plainly it did, then the one who pulled the trigger was the first visitor, Zach Gramarye. Well, how do you like me now, Herr Wright? Still too green for your taste?
He's right about the diary being pretty clear. Still, I find it hard to believe that he'd overlook such an obvious problem with his precious evidence.
Well, Mr. Wright, the witness's testimony we heard was lacking, but put together with this evidence, it seems quite sufficient for a case.
If the diary is accepted like this, the trial's over. Maybe it's time for me to show them something. I'm left with no choice but to show my own evidence.
What? You have some evidence that overturns this diary?
It's not too late to rethink this and avoid more embarrassment.
Very well, please show us your evidence, Mr. Wright.
Incidentally, don't even think of showing us this diary I've just shown in the court. Now that we've come this far, I hope you'll have something a little more decisive. Show us evidence that proves the victim continued writing his diary. All right, I'd be happy to. The decisive evidence proving that the diary didn't end with this page is... What the actual what? There.
Take that!
First, take a close look at this diary. Note that a page has clearly been ripped out.
Oh, what's this? I hadn't noticed that at all.
That's why we're still here talking about this. As it just so happens, I have here what I believe to be the missing page.
Unca, I don't believe it.
Looking at this page, it's hard to imagine that the first visitor that night shot Magnifi Gramarye. That's the defense's position.
Wait, let me see that. What is Sam Hill? Wait, this is the continuation of the victim's diary.
Well? Note the torn edge of the page. It's a perfect match with the torn remains of the last page of Magnifi's diary. Quite remarkable. Would you care to explain what all this means, Herr Attorney? The diary continued after his first visitor came, which means that the victim was still alive after Zach Gramarye left, leaving no one to take his life but the second visitor. Violent Gramarye. No.
The handwriting too matches that of the other pages. This is, without a doubt, the genuine article. Order!
But wait, that's impossible. That old man couldn't have written that.
Objection!
Finally, you just couldn't resist, could you, Herr Wright? Resist what? Presenting solid evidence? Herr Judge?
Yes, Prosecutor Gavin.
Might I request we put the current cross-examination on hold? The prosecution would like to call a new witness.
But Prosecutor Gavin, this evidence overturns the current witnesses.
I ask only
to put it on hold. Please. My new witness has a very, very important piece of testimony to give. 5 minutes. No more. I promise, Your Honor.
Oh, well, if you put it that way, Mr. Wright, what's your take on this?
Well, Your Honor, judging from his enthusiasm, we'll have to hear this new testimony sooner or later anyway. So it might as well be sooner.
Then, though this is highly, highly irregular, we will put the current cross-examination on hold. The witness may step down. Now, Prosecutor Gavin, please bring this surprise witness to the courtroom.
I had a bad feeling just then. That ripped out page was too obvious. He must have known. I should have known it was a bad sign all around. What's that, Drew?
Holding trial with no audience is a first, even for me, Prosecutor Gavin.
I beg the court's understanding.
But I had to make a judiciary deal with the witness to secure his testimony.
A judiciary deal? The details of his testimony may have some legal ramifications, shall we say. I thought it best to contain the information to this room.
Very well, and you are the witness, I gather?
Yes. Yes, sir. State your name and occupation for the record. My name's Drew Misham. I'm a painter.
A painter? You're somehow related to this case?
No, not per se. I have one simple question for this witness. Mr. Misham, was it? Do you know what this is? Oh, yeah. I know it well. How's that possible? Have you seen this diary page somewhere before? Oh, yeah. I mean, I made it. You what? You made it? Yes. You might call it one of my works. The prosecutor's office received a tip-off yesterday. Illegal evidence has been prepared for the trial of Zach Gramarye.
Illegal evidence?
I initiated an investigation and found this witness. A painter to the world at large, Drew Misham has another side, you might say. He is skilled in making perfect reproductions of certain things. Forgeries, in other words.
Forgeries? Well, so we are to understand that this page here is
a fake. Prepared by a certain defense attorney.
Objection!
Hold it! I didn't prepare this evidence!
Objection!
The attorney speaks. Something about this page, I presume. But what is he saying? It makes no sense. After all, it was you who presented this evidence to us, Phoenix Wright.
Witness, Mr. Misham, was it? Who requested this forgery? Was it your client?
That, I don't know.
What?
Most of my clients prefer to remain anonymous, even to me. I make the items they want and receive my payment. That's the extent of my contact with them.
Objection!
But there's no proof this is a fake. It's a fake. To avoid just this sort of problem, I always put a special mark on my works. I can say without a doubt, this is mine.
Mr. Wright, you have just presented illegal evidence to this court. My court.
It was careless of me. That's all I can say.
Oh boy! Here.
What's this?
I don't know. I just got it over there in the hall. They told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair. They said it was really important.
It's all a trap. A fatal trap. Mr. Wright,
Yes?
do you have an explanation for yourself?
If I did, would the court hear it?
Probably not. Forging evidence is a serious crime, and presenting it in court a serious mistake. A fatal mistake for an attorney. Fatal too, perhaps, for your client, I fear. Tell me, what kind of defendant relies on forged evidence? The answer is quite clear. A guilty one.
Objection!
Your Honor, wait! I understand that presenting forged evidence in court is a serious crime, but you cannot hold my client responsible for actions I undertook as an individual.
I am sorry, Mr. Wright.
Your Honor, another close call, I dare say. If the prosecutor's office hadn't received that hot tip, everything would have gone the way you wanted it to, yeah? I even gave you a chance. Too bad you decided not to think before embarrassing yourself.
I see no need for further discussion on this matter. Special witness dismissed.
Mr. Attorney? Yes. Could I ask your name? Phoenix Wright. Mr. Wright, I have seen and studied many people, but none like you. I'll remember you, Mr. Wright.
Though I deeply regret having to declare a verdict in this way, this trial is over. You have the right to find a new attorney and make an appeal. However, this court must.
Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Zack.
There is one thing I wish to make clear. Today, in this courtroom, you cannot declare me guilty. It is impossible.
I'm afraid the defendant is quite mistaken. I most certainly have the authority to declare a verdict on you.
Except, tell me, how do you plan on announcing your verdict when your defendant does not exist?
Doesn't exist? What are you talking about?
I am talking about this.
Oof. Mr. Enigma! The defendant's escaped. Find him, quick! Bailiff, close all exits from the building! On the double! He must not be allowed to escape!
That day in that courtroom, a miracle occurred. The defendant, Shady Enigma, aka Zach Gramarye, did not just escape from court. He literally, unbelievably vanished. Right before the bailiff's eyes. No one ever saw him again, not since that day. This is the Gramarye miracle! No verdict was declared. After all, the defendant didn't exist. That's how it happened. A trial of magician Zach Gramarye vanished along with him for all eternity. The mysteries that remained behind were all solved, however. But not until 7 years later. To be continued in the next episode to the outro. Well then, I think it's pretty clear who had that evidence forged, who gave it to Trucy, and who sent the poison stamp to Misham. The same person that killed Zach Gramarye, aka Shady Enigmar, aka Shady Smith. Christoph Gavin. Everything ties back to him. Oh, and Valen definitely killed Magnifi. Yeah. Actually, maybe the evidence wasn't forged. Maybe Christoph just hired Misham to say that it had been and then tried to kill him to cover it up. Motive is the problem, though. I'm guessing Christoph was just jealous of Phoenix, specifically his win record. Having him disbarred would remove him of competition at least. Then, inconveniently, Shady reappears, Christoph panics and kills him to keep the truth covered up. And, as a bonus, put Phoenix in jail and probably executed. Bit messy, but I think that's just about the shape of it. I guess we'll return to the True Mission case next time. In the meantime, up here is a playlist of my Danganronpa V3 playthrough, and down here is a video that YouTube recommends. Also, if you'd like to help support a fuzzy little monster and get videos a week early, we have channel memberships for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!